Welcome back to my channel. Nothing much really to report. Other than that, my anxiety is pretty high at the moment. My mental health is pretty bad. But I'm carrying on, plowing through, difficult though it is. I am actually considering beginning a course of hypnosis, because I think that might help me achieve deep relaxation, which is what I really need, because I find it very difficult to relax and my brain's always in a state of fight or flight 24/7, which is really exhausting. So I've been in contact with a number of, I phoned a number of hypnotherapists in my local area, two of whom have got back in contact with me, and I'm going to have a first appointment with one of them on Monday, so we'll see how that goes and whether or not I want to pursue it with her. And then another one has offered a free consultation the week after next, still got to arrange a day and time, and I will have a free consultation with her to decide whether or not I want to pursue it. So again, I'll have two options and I can decide which one I want to go with. And this is, I am also having some CBT as well, but CBT is really difficult because with CBT you're supposed to do exposure and response prevention, and you're supposed to allow the anxiety to be high while doing the exposure and response prevention. I find that really very, very difficult because anxiety is so incredibly overwhelming for me, and I find it really hard to regulate emotions, and I think that's part of being autistic as well. And I sort of feel hypnosis might actually potentially be better in helping me bring down the anxiety and entering a more peaceful frame of mind. So it's worth a try anyway. I'm sort of hoping I might be able to regress my brain to a more childlike state, because I have a lot of memories going back to when I was a child, and obviously I've had OCD for a very long time, but when I was a child, that's to say before the age of 10, I mean even in my early teens it wasn't as bad as now, but particularly before the age of 10, I had worries, I had some phobias that were developing. You could see that things were going to get worse, but I was not in a constant state of 24/7 fight or flight. My brain was a lot calmer, and I have memories of that time of just living, and I had a happy childhood, and I really want to be able to re-access that state of mind. So I'm sort of hoping hypnosis might be able to allow me to do that. I mean, I sort of want to drink out of a well of oblivion, really, because a lot of my fears and phobias have developed because of my brain's overthinking, and that overthinking comes from knowing too much, and I wish I didn't know so much. Having a brain that knows too much is not always a good thing. When you can't process that information, you just end up constantly thinking the worst will happen. Knowing that something could happen there's a tiny little doubt, it makes me think it will happen. My anxiety is so incredibly high. I wish I didn't know about these things, because if I didn't know about these things, I wouldn't worry about them. And that's the problem, unfortunately. I'd love to drink out of a well of oblivion. There is not such a well. Once you know something, you know it. But if hypnosis can at least calm my brain, my nervous system, can remind my brain of what it's like not to be anxious, can maybe reset it to some extent, can regress it maybe a bit. I mean, obviously, like I said, I can't undo what I know, but if hypnosis can help me take those memories I have of the time when I was a lot calmer and kind of bring that into my consciousness, make it more central, that would be good. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But that's something I'm going to do. I've also ordered some books off World of Books, Anxiety for Dummies, because I've got a number of books on OCD, and yes, I do have OCD, but I do feel that my primary problem is that of anxiety. I have OCD in the sense I have intrusive thoughts, and I have certain compulsions I do because of those intrusive thoughts and safety behaviours, but I do feel that my primary problem is anxiety. It's phobia, and the OCD comes out of that phobia. It is primarily a very strong phobic element to it, with very pervasive anxiety and elements of OCD, is how I'd best conceptualise it. But it is very severe, and it's incredibly disabling. So I've got some books out about anxiety, and I hope that might help me as well. So I'm going to have a look at those when I've let them sit for a little while, because mostly decontamination, I can't touch them straight away. Although I am getting better actually at touching them the day, but like, I used to leave them for like a week. Now I actually can handle them the next day. So I am making a bit of progress there. Anyway, in this video, I wanted to talk to you today about one of my memories from childhood, and I've also written a poem about that memory which I'd like to share with you. I am a very, very nostalgic person, and I think a lot about the past. In actual fact, I am obsessed with the past. I spend most of my waking hours thinking about the past. Now, one of my memories is from Easter, to be more specific, Easter 1998. Now, in Easter 1998, I was 10 and a half years old, and we were staying, that's to say my parents, my brother and I, were staying in Stratford-upon-Avon at my grandfather's house, because my grandfather had a house in Stratford-upon-Avon. It was like, because he was a professor of, Shakespeare professor, but he spent a lot of his time in America and Los Angeles, where he also had a house, but he let us have his house in Stratford-upon-Avon, where we would stay at Easter. We sometimes go there in the summer as well, and at Christmas, so we went there a lot of the time. It was a very nice house. It's like a 3-story townhouse. Anyway, so we were staying there Easter 1998, and we used to do a lot of walking, because my parents are very keen walkers, and we often went walking in the Cotswolds while we were there, a lovely part of England. I really would love to go back to the Cotswolds. Beautiful, beautiful place. Very nostalgic memories of walking there. Sadly, something I can't do now, very sad, because of my problems. But yeah, we used to go walking in the Cotswolds a lot. We would get a bus there. It's like one of these really wickety buses that used to like thud a lot, like up and down. We went to the Cotswolds, went to a place called Chipping Campden, which is a village in the Cotswolds. A lovely, lovely yellow stone buildings, beautiful architecture, very oldie worldy. So we went to anyway, this was Easter 1998. I might actually have to read the poem another time. We'll see how we go, because I might not have time in this video to read the poem. I just wanted to provide some context to the poem, so I might have to do that another time, because I don't know if I'll be able to do that in this video. But anyway, so we went to Chipping Campden, and the aim was to walk to a place called Broadway Tower along the Cotswold Way. Cotswold Way is actually a very, for the whole extent of the Cotswold Way actually goes right up to Bath, I think, but this was just a small part of the Cotswold Way, which is like this walk. So we were going to walk from Chipping Campden to Broadway Tower, and my mum said that the weather for that day predicted sunshine and showers. Nothing major, just sunshine and showers. I have some vague memories of walking along the Cotswold Way. Yeah, quite high up, lots of grassy greenery. But my main memory is of holding my dad's hand and walking through a field, a very bare field, just along a path. It was a bare field, and my mum was in front, who was rather stressed. My mum was in front, and she was waving her hand at us, because my brother was up with my mum. I was walking with my dad, holding his hand, and my mum was waving her hand at us like quite frantically, because I was deep in conversation with my dad. I can't actually remember what I was talking about, but I was oblivious to what was going on. My mum was waving her hand frantically at us, like this, like, come on, come on, come on. And my dad kind of looked up at the sky, and there were some kind of rather ominous looking clouds, and he said, we better hurry up, because it looks like it could rain, sort of thing. So we sped on, and then we came to this wooded path with trees, And I remember a couple came past us dressed in raincoats. We walked past them through this kind of a green path with trees on the side, and then it began to hail. So we took shelter under the trees, and there was, a lot of hail, but we were sheltered, so we took shelter under the trees. Then the hail stopped, and we carried on walking. And we could see, at this point, the hill rising up, because Broadway Tower is on top of a hill. And then suddenly I saw there was this big fork of lightning, and it was like not that far away from us. It came straight out of the sky. Okay, I'm going to move over to video number 2 now, just to carry on recounting this memory, which I think about a lot. It was quite scary at the time, but it's actually quite nostalgic now as an adult. So I'm just going to move over to video number 2, and I call this the Broadway experience. I might not have time to read the poem to you today, so I'll read that another time. I think I'm just going to tell you about the experience. When I read the poem, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so moving over to video number 2.